Welcome to this course by RouteFabric. In today's session, we're going to cover IAM, Identity Access Management. IAM is very important to understanding your AWS account and strategically setting up who's allowed in and what services they're allowed to have access to. In this section, we're going to talk about users, roles, groups. Also, we're going to talk about MFA, multi-factor authentication, and IAM policies. Multi-factor authentication in AWS is basically you're mandating more than one way to authenticate in AWS, which is going to protect against accidental deletes and accidental guests logged in, because the user needs to authenticate in two different ways: logging in, and a really good authenticator is Google Authenticator. It's very easy to download and to use and to utilize when logging in. So basically, you're going to log into your AWS account, but you would download an app, Google Authenticator, to your phone, and it would give you various numbers that would display every 15 or 30 seconds. And you need to enter those numbers in, and it will authenticate you into the AWS management system. So that's the best practice. That's not the only way. There's other ways, but that's just a primary example that most people use when logging in. And it's an extra secure measure to keeping your AWS IAM console and AWS console secure. We're going to review a few IAM best practice. It's best practice to lock away the AWS user access keys, because by having the access to the keys, you have access to the entire AWS account. So you want to store those away in a place where no one has access to it. You want to use AWS defined policies to assign permissions whenever possible. In this session, we're also going to use groups to assign permissions to IAM users. Grant least privilege is when you're going to basically assign or provide access to just the bare minimum someone needs in order to complete the job. That way they cannot go to other areas in which they have no business in. And it's going to keep your environment safe. Everyone have just enough access to get their job done and no more. MFA, we just talked about. Multi-factor authentication is a multiple way of authenticating to prevent accidental and people guessing passwords, and it's an extra layer of security. Use roles for applications that run on AWS EC2 instance. Rotate credentials regularly. Remove unnecessary credentials. So once a job has been completed, it is fair game and it's best practice to remove those additional credentials so that the possibility of access and servers will not be abused. Use policy conditions for extra security, and monitor your AWS account frequently. So check in there, make sure that everything looks up to date and is current with what's currently going on. So let's take a look at an AWS account at some of these features. We're going to go to IAM, and we're going to, let's take a look at this page. It's a global service. You can click here, and there are tons of best practice, which I recommend any AWS account owner or even user to spend about 10-15 minutes just looking over some best practice that's going to keep you safe and keep the AWS account secure. And there's other additional information that is worth spending 10-15 minutes on to better understand this service. Here are some recommendations on our security status. It is recommended to get 5 out of 5 complete. Activate MFA on your root account. Create individual users. Use groups to assign permissions. Apply an IAM password policy. Rotate access keys. So these are highly recommended in best practice. On the left are some areas that we're going to address. Let's create a group. Let's say the name of our group is our developers, so call them the dev group. And I'm going to move my face over here, and we're going to go next on policies. Let's go with code commit repository. Let's give them full access. And you can add several different policies, but I'm just going to add that one. So as you can see, there's the group and there's the policy, or policies you can add. Create group. It already exists. So let's create them. So dev, let's do route. Let's see if that's. And we're going to give them full code commit access. And let's try it now. Yes. Yeah, I had a dev group here earlier. So let's delete this one, which is easy. Select it. Group actions. I can add users and everything, but I'm going to delete that group right there. All right, so now here's my developer. Let's say I have HR. All right, we got an HR group. Let's give them full access to everything. So, full. Let's say admin. Let's give them full access. All right. So there you have it. That's the group. And that's the policy. And I can add more policies, but I'm just going to add just one for right now. And let's do one more group. Let's go to our production team, our producers, and let's go to create. Let's go prod. Let's see what happens. Our production, they may need to do code deploy. Full access. Right? And let's give them Lambda too. Lambda access. And let's give them CloudFormation. Alright, let's give them 3. As you can see, all 3 are on there. We're going to create the group. So we have 3 groups. And if you select it, it's going to have, you can add some users to the group. Permissions, you can attach more policies, but here's the policy. Alright, so let's go back. We have 3 groups. Now let's add users to the group. Okay, let's add some users to development group. Alright, let's go back and let's create some users. Add user. Let's say we have Jeff, and we want to give him programmatic access. It's going to give you access to API, CLI, SDK, and other development tools. It's more on your complex and high end. Let's just give them AWS Management Console access. So Jeff, and let's give him a simple password, and then he can go in and he can change it to something more complex or that's going to fit our password structure. So we'll just go and let's show our password. Let's give him password 1234, which is not very secure, but as soon as he get it, he'll be able to change it. So his username is Jeff. Jeff's username is Jeff. You can put anything you want. His password is going to be password 1234, but he must create a new one the next time we sign in. And we're going to give them an access role, a permission to change that. So let's go to permission. And we can put him in a group. So I can put him in developer group. And next for tags, you can put tags. I can put development group, DEV, dev, IAM. Okay, so let's go to view. Jeff, access to the AWS Management Console with a password, and the group name, and he has a policy stating that he can change his password. Create user, and it's successful. So I can email this to Jeff, and it's going to have his username, and I can put his password, and he will be able to log in, and he will receive that information in order to log in. Okay, so now let's add another. Let's add another user. And best practice is adding one at a time. Let's go with Ali. Mike. Saul. Jay. And let's go with Lisa. And let's say I want all of these users to have AWS console access. And I can auto assign password, or I can give them a custom one to start off with. So it's up to you. It can auto assign and just send an auto assign password, but let's just give them the same password, which is not very secure, by the way. 1234. And the next time the user log in, he or she must change the password to something strong. And this is the policy statement they can do that. Next, let's not put these users in a group. We don't have to. We can assign groups later. We can put them in a different group later. They don't have to be assigned right here. So we're just going to do next tags. You don't have to fill it in right now, but you can, and it's useful. All these users, we're going to create the users. And I can send an email with their password and username to each of these users. Success, and here's the access login URL. Close that. So now we have the cloud user, which is me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 users. So I have 7 users, and this gives you information about it. MFA has not been enabled, last activity, password age, access key age. So let's put these users in groups. So I can go to group, let's say for HR. Let's add users to this group. And I can go through and let's add Saul and Mike to this group. So now there are 2 people in HR. Prod, let's add some people to Prod. Some users to Prod. Prod, let's add Lisa, and let's add Jay, and let's add Ali. So as you can see, you have created a group, created policies and access to certain services, and then you can easily create users and put those users in particular groups, and the user will inherit the rights and access of that group. A person can be a part of multiple groups. So Dev has 1 user. I mean, you can add more users. You can add Lisa, Mike, and Saul to the Dev group, and they can be a part of multiple groups. And roles are basically when you are assigning a service access to do a job for you. So create a role, and you can create a role for a service, EC2, to go and do something on your behalf. So that is how that works. So I hope this was informative, and if you'd like to know more about IAM, you can check out our courses at RouteFabric.com.